Hey everybody, and thanks for joining us. I just want to give you a little insight about what you're about to hear. What it is a couple of kids got together here at Destructoid and decided to put together a retro-style podcast. The whole shebang is hosted by me, Alex Ryan, also known as Dyson on the site. And what we do is we talk about the upcoming downloadable virtual console games, Xbox Live Arcade, and in any upcoming game that has a retro flair or that we think you should pay attention to. Between segments, we got a little bit of Reverend Anthony and his Reverend Rage, giving you game reviews or just pure angst. So after that, we're going to just discuss some retroness. So please enjoy what we have for you here today, and if you have any comments, suggestions, or criticism, please send them along to retroforce@destructate.com.
Welcome to Retroforce Go. Totally awesome sauce!
Cars toppled, buildings and towers just crushed and crumbled. I'm not sure if it's safe to report from my vantage point. I really need to leave. Civil Defense has informed me that the surrounding areas are in ruin. I see some people running now. In the opinion of this reporter, if this nation, or in fact the world, ever needed heroes, that time is now. That time is now.
Welcome to Retroforce Go. Joining me today is Colette Bennett.
Hello.
Chad Conselmo.
Hello.
And Topher Hushgush Cantler.
I can has Pez.
I'm sorry, today we're all out of Pez. But no, this is we don't have Pez, but we've got video game talking from a bunch of guys and ladies who actually just like the old school games. So you're going to get our point of view on everything. We're going to talk about downloadable games for the Wii and the Xbox 360, and if anything good comes out on PS3, we might mention it, but don't hold your breath. So going to start off real quick. Today, Monday was Ninja Madness Day, wasn't it?
It was Ninja Madness.
I don't know. Did any of you guys... Alright, who, honestly, Ninja Gaiden? Come on.
Yeah.
Classic.
Awesome.
You guys...
Sauce.
Awesome sauce.
Sauce. I have to
Ninja
admit that
sauce.
if it's Ninja Gaiden, I will play it just because it just conjures the image in my mind of like, well... jumping up and down walls, and just I think NES every time, and just because of that like memory, I'm like, I'll play whatever. Ninja Gaiden, okay. Ninja Gaiden toilet paper adventure, sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, stars.
Every time I think of Ninja Gaiden, is it Gaiden or Gaiden?
I don't know.
I
Okay.
think it's
I think
Ninja
it's
Gaiden.
Gaiden.
Gaiden?
Yeah.
Alright. Well, just pretend that you're hearing me say Ninja Gaiden.
Okay.
Or whatever. So Ninja Gaiden. Every time I think of that game, like it's almost like that really hot girl that got away, because I played it. No, I played it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Back when I was younger, so I was really good at video games, as opposed to my old slow self, and I couldn't beat it. I could never beat it. It was the first game I couldn't beat.
It's hard.
That's an understatement. That thing is so fucking hard. You get to the last level and you go against the end guy, and he just
Yeah.
destroys you, and you don't go back. If you die, you go halfway, like in all games, and then if you have to continue, you have to start all the way at the beginning of the end level.
Yep.
I mean, you have to be perfect, but
Yeah, I miss that shit. I miss games that like actually like if you don't make it, they just are like, fuck you.
Yeah, they punish you for sucking.
Sorry that you suck, but yeah.
yeah,
that.
that's a lot. That's missing. Most games today, they hold your hand. Like the first level's like, this is a box, press square, and it's just fucking it. You turn on Ninja Gaiden or whatever, and it's like you're about to die.
You just fall into a pit when you fall into the level. You're done.
Yeah.
You have no chance.
That's the whole game. You died. You have failed. Ryo Hayabasa has failed.
It's one of those games where they put the enemies like in the worst place, and they do that on purpose. Like every time you jump over a cliff or whatever, there's like an eagle that happens to fly down and hit you and knock you into the pit.
You're not
Literally,
kidding.
It's so frustrating.
Every fucking time. God, now you're bringing back like flashbacks. I'm like,
It's
oh.
like the Medusa heads in Castlevania that always are in like the worst place ever.
Yeah, how did they time that? I don't understand it. It's like
Ugh,
it's like there's a guy somewhere with like a measuring tape, and he's like, every time you jump on this arc, that is going to hit you in the balls.
Yeah. And what's worse is like you're on a platform or whatever, and if it was just a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, the arc of the Medusa head would go over you, or you could jump over it. But no,
No.
wham, every time.
Every time.
Yeah,
They're like homing heads.
fuckers.
What was the other Ninja? Well, first of all, Ninja Gaiden, go buy it. You want it. The other was Ninja Spirit, TurboGrafx 16.
Yes. Which I've never played, actually.
I actually played
neither.
it today. To get this straight. Okay, so got a Mac, right? Try to find a emulator for the TurboGrafx 16. You know, so I can play. I own it. Sure, I need backup copies. Whatever, right?
Right.
They don't make one for the new Intel Macs. They don't, but they make them for the old Macs. So what I did was I downloaded the PC one, and then I downloaded this thing that a program for the Mac where you can actually load Windows blah 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 programs on your fucking computer, right? So I've got my TurboGrafx emulator open through a bridge program through onto my Mac, and it's all written in Windows, just to play Ninja Spirit.
That's a lot of work.
That's dedication right there.
Yeah, well, I don't really have a job, so it's not like I got
No
anywhere else
job.
to be.
Just
No.
a love for ninjas.
Yeah, I mean, with ninjas command respect and authority.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a good game. I don't know. I don't know if it's really worth it. It's like, 5 levels? You know, TurboGrafx games I played a bunch actually today are surprisingly simple. And I don't mean simple in graphics. I just mean, wow, this is fucking a lot easier than my old NES games.
But still
So-
fun.
Yeah, they're still fun. Actually, I had a lot of fun.
I never really played them.
I actually was kind of getting this feeling like I actually really wanted to look more into it because I was playing like Twin Bee and Alien Crush, Devil Crush, the pinball games.
Alien Crush is great.
Oh, that game is amazing.
So much fun.
Yeah, both of them are so good. And then I put in like Blazing Lasers, which I think I said like previously was my favorite shooter ever, and I realize now probably because it's kind of easy. I was playing it today. I'm like, I'm playing it with a keyboard too, which I suck at. So I'm like, ah, damn, I haven't died once, and then I died. But no. But yeah, Ninja Spirit, whatever. The other one is everybody's favorite, what, Pac-Man? Woo.
Yes.
There's
The
really
ninja version.
Oh, yeah. It's Pac-Man Gaiden.
You eat little shurikens.
That's awesome.
Being attacked by samurai. Yeah, but honestly, what can you really truly feel compelled to say about Pac-Man other than you've played it? You really have.
It's kind of a bad selection though because you can get it on Xbox 360 with a lot of bells and whistles.
Actually, that brings me up to something I wanted to mention. Did you guys hear that they're announcing Bomberman for the Xbox 360 download or Live Arcade?
My head exploded. I was so happy.
Exactly. Now, don't you like? I read the whole thing and it says, all right, not only will it be coming, but it'll have 8-player multiplayer support online, plus
What?
bells and whistles. Yeah, up to 8 players. And then you'll also be able to like choose your Bomberman avatar and customize it, like with a preset. They said there was like 10,000 possible combinations, but who knows?
Nice.
I think Chad is stroking his penis.
Right, and it's all going to be on Xbox Live Arcade, and you'll be able to play online. Anyone, I don't know when it said it was coming out, and the guy from Hudson was like, people have been asking for it, so here it is. We hope you like it. And I was just like, never before have I really thought like, wow, I'm not getting a lot for my money with the Nintendo Virtual Console until now.
Yeah, it's going to be the greatest Xbox 360 arcade game ever.
I
Yeah.
know.
That's pretty. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually it's really interesting. It's actually a brand new version of Bomberman. They're not even like doing an older port.
Is it?
They're designing it from the ground up. And I saw some screens actually today, and it's like beautiful. It's kind of cell shaded-y, but it's very like high definition, very sleek. It's all in widescreen. It's amazing.
Wow.
Now you're
Oh
speaking
my
my
God.
language.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like it's beautiful, and it's 8 players, and it's going to be like the greatest thing ever.
So yeah, Chad obviously really likes the game. But no, it was like really weird because you don't, I'm a big Nintendo supporter. I'm sure you guys are, of course. And I never really felt like I was getting gypped, but now I'm like, well, man, if I download Bomberman on Virtual Console, it's like there's a big difference. Like Contra is like before I was like, well, whatever, but now it's like this is a game that's meant to be played with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
God damn it, Nintendo. That's all I'm going to say.
And the thing that makes it so great is it's so easy to join other games on Xbox Live. Like, I mean, it's literally the easiest thing ever. No friend codes, no complications.
Yeah, that's a story for another day. But
Right.
What about Xbox Live Arcade you were mentioning? Did anything good come out this week?
Well, actually, I've heard something interesting did. They have a free game this week called Aegis Wing or Aegis Wing? I don't know how to pronounce it, actually.
Aegis Wing.
Aegis?
Or Aegis. Damn, all these complicated downloadable games this week.
Oh, whatever.
Well, they got to trade off a little bit. They're like, well, it's going to be free, but you're going to sound like an idiot trying to say it.
Exactly. Well, now I do feel like an idiot from trying to say it. But I actually played a little bit of it today, and it's actually pretty fun. It's pretty cool for a free game, I must admit.
What type of game is it?
It's like a 2D shooter, kind of like, Gradius.
It's a shooter, and they have
R-Type.
4-player where you're all 4 people can come together into one ship, and one guy can fly, and then the other 3 get a gun. And,
Control the guns, yeah, it's very cool.
yeah,
It's Voltron?
It is like Voltron.
it
Oh my
should have been
God.
Voltron.
And actually, it is kind of like Voltron because you each have a different color ship. Very similar
Wow.
to Voltron colors.
Oh my God! Have you guys? I haven't had a chance to play, but have you?
Yeah, I played it a little today.
Topher, did you play it all?
I didn't because I came home and went to sleep.
Oh,
Yeah, it's fun. It's I mean, if you compare it to like these like amazing 2D space shooter games, it's not like the greatest thing ever. But for a free game, it's pretty great. And on 4-player, it's so much fun. It's like a million times better than 1-player.
sounds like a good. Sounds like a good thing to get then.
It is.
Awesome. Was that it? Was that all that came out?
No, there was also a game called Sultrio Solitaire, I think. Is that what it's called? I
Oh,
think
they're
that's
just
what it's
messing with you.
Solitaire.
What?
No, there's a word in front of it. It's like Soul Trio Solitaire. I swear I'm not
Sultrio?
making that up.
What's it? What is Sultrio exactly?
Okay, I swear to God, I can pronounce words.
It's
It's a
Spanish
rough
for
night.
solitaire sucks.
Yeah.
No, honestly, it's a
Right?
really terrible version. Honestly, like all jokes aside, it's a horrible version of Solitaire.
Does it cost money?
God.
Oh yeah, I think it's like $8.
That's not worth
Okay.
it. That's
Okay.
that.
Hold on.
Huh?
Solitaire. It's on Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you want to play Solitaire on Xbox Live with other people?
exactly.
I'm very confused.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That doesn't make any sense.
Hey,
point.
dude, you want to go play some fucking Solitaire tonight?
Like you
no.
play and your friend just watches.
Exactly. That's how you get achievements. You watch for 1 hour.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think I'd kill myself.
Well, I can't believe it's $8. I mean, it's solitaire. That's like free. That's like it comes on every Microsoft computer in the world.
I know.
Yeah,
And
it does.
apparently they have like 18 different variations of Solitaire, but that usually
So?
means they have like 18 different backgrounds.
They're all still lonely.
I'm gonna figure out what Sultrio means right now because I'm determined to prove to you guys that I'm not crazy.
Yes. No, we don't think you're crazy, sweetheart.
We just
Well,
think
I don't
you
know how to
can't
pronounce
talk.
the words tonight, so you probably thought that it's not in the dictionary.
Well, did anything else come out this week of
I
note?
think that's it for Xbox.
Okay. And none of
Yeah, I
us have a
think that might
PS3
be what we've
because
got.
we're retro gamers, man. All right. Well, Chad's gonna figure out what
Also poor.
We
what
do not support PS3.
we do not support the PS3. But Chad's gonna find out what's
PS3 can suck it.
ah. I was gonna try and go to break.
Go to break,
Go to
bitch!
time for a break.
Retroforce Go!
Hey, this is Reverend Anthony with your weekly Reverend Rant, and it's that time of year again. It's the time that all gamers begin to dread, the drought that we are going to have to suffer after the holiday season when we've seen the very best that the gaming world has to offer. We have to come back and we have to deal with bullshit for a couple months. It's with certain exceptions, this is going to be kind of a dry month for gaming. But what are you supposed to do? What are you to do in those times when you're waiting? And the only answer seems to be go back and look at retro games, look at older games, and just immerse yourself in those, which is obviously why you're listening to Retroforce Go. You seem to be a kind of person who appreciates the older things, the fun of retro games, and for that, thank you. I appreciate you. We're friends. You and me, we like each other. We're cool. I mean, if we met in real life, we probably wouldn't like each other at all, and we'd actually hate each other quite a bit. But for now, we have this in common, so let's just enjoy this moment while it lasts. So with that in mind, I wanted to reevaluate Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Now you might say, why Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater? It's not retro, it's not old enough, it doesn't matter. Well, I agree with you there, but it's also relevant in many senses, in the sense that Metal Gear Solid 4 is coming out in a couple months, maybe 6 months, something like that. And a lot of people seem to still look at Hideo Kojima and say that he is one of the big geniuses in the gaming industry. They hold him up alongside Shigeru Miyamoto and Fumito Ueda, or however you pronounce the guy did Ico. However you pronounce anything that he's ever done. They hold him up in the same regard as that, and that's not the fucking case. I might go into this in more detail later, but suffice it to say, let's just look at Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and it sucks. I can understand why some people might like it, and that's okay, but it still sucks, and nothing's really going to change that. Taking a look at the story first. Metal Gear Solid 2, the very end of it, had some very, very strange, cliffhanging questions. The ending of Metal Gear Solid 2 sucked complete balls. It was like 900 twists at the same fucking time, and it didn't make any sense, and it totally distanced the player. It's like smoking aces for a video game, basically. But it did leave some genuinely interesting questions, like why are the Patriots dead, who are the Patriots, so on and so forth. But with Metal Gear Solid 3, we get an entire game devoted to something completely unrelated. That'd be like if I told you the most interesting story ever about, I went to a bar and I got into a fight or something like that, and then midway through I stop and I go, oh shit, no, I forgot to tell you what I ate for breakfast this morning. Sorry, my bad. And then I spent 3 hours telling you that I had Rice Krispies and an apple or some shit like that. The stuff that happens in Metal Gear Solid 3 really isn't at all relevant to anything that ever happens in the rest of the series. It might, from a thematic point of view, it's sort of like The Godfather Part 2, in that, you see where Big Boss comes from, and so you know how Snake gets there, and there's that idea of parallels through history. But that's not really enough to warrant its existence, because the entire time you're going through the game, you meet characters who you've either seen before, like Revolver Ocelot, or you haven't seen before, like Ava or the boss. And it makes the game kind of pointless, because every time you see a character you know, like Revolver Ocelot, then you know nothing could possibly happen to him. He can't die, nothing bad is going to happen to him no matter what happens. So every time he's in the game, or in a scene, which is, I think, more than half the game, Revolver Ocelot just sort of stands around and acts arrogant, and it's impossible to give a shit, even when you fight him at some points, because you know he's not going to die. There's no consequence for anything you do. And even if you do actually kill him in one of the cutscenes, then the game ends, and you get a funny little, you're told that you've essentially created a time paradox, because Revolver Ocelot can't be dead before the events of Metal Gear Solid 1, and that's cute, and that's funny, but at the same time, it's self-defeating for a game that puts such a focus on story and cutscenes and the narrative structure. Because if I'm going to play through a game and I see somebody like Big Boss, or not Big Boss, the boss, the chick you're supposed to kill, and I know that she's not in any of the subsequent Metal Gear Solid games, I've never seen it before, then I know she's probably going to die. I have to guess as to the exact way she's going to die or how it's going to happen, but if you know pretty much how a character is going to end up, then that sort of makes the entire game pointless in a respect, because you know how Revolver Ocelot's going to end up the first time you see him. That this guy isn't really Snake, he's Big Boss, and so on and so forth. So from a story point of view, the game to me seemed kind of frivolous and pointless. Now you may think that's harsh, but this seems to be a game that is still widely appreciated by the gaming culture at large, and I can't understand why for the life of me, because the story's not involving and the gameplay's really not that great in comparison to the original Metal Gear Solid games. It took everything that was a flaw with the original Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear Solid 2, and it sort of amplified those flaws. I mean, the flaws weren't big, but Metal Gear Solid 3 makes them very big. Say you take the top-down perspective. Now, I know they fixed this for subsistence, but, I mean, they fucked it up the first time around. Why would you forgive somebody just because they made the hugest fucking mistake ever? And sorry, man, my bad. It's cool. Here, just buy another game, spend another $50, and I'll fix the mistake that should have been fixed in the first fucking game. No, that's ridiculous. The problem is that you play MGS3, and it's a game about stealth and survival and looking through the jungle and looking ahead of you, and the entire game is fucking looking down on you. It's like a bird's eye view when you don't need a bird's eye view. It's okay in Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 because you're just in these facilities and factories and things like that, and it's okay because these were little metal mazes. But when you're in the jungle, why would you ever even consider, why would a genius, somebody that people call a genius, Hideo Kojima, why would he consider not changing that perspective to a third person kind of thing, a behind the character. That would seem obvious. Any one of us could do that. And not only that, but the CQC moves. There wasn't a lot of hype, but there was the idea that these would be kind of cool and they'd be a different method of grappling and stuff. And in a way, they are kind of fun, if only because you can grab a guy and you can interrogate him and stuff like that. They're basically just glorified grapples, but they're still kind of fun, except for the fact that there's this one CQC move you can do when you run up to a guy, and I think you press circle or something like that, and Snake just throws their ass to the ground. They're immediately knocked out, and it's easy as fuck to just go through the entire game like that. There's really no punishment for just running around, grabbing people, throwing them to the ground because they get knocked out. You can just meet one guy and throw him and it's okay. Now, the problem with that's compounded on top of that is that in the Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, levels were broken up into screens or grids. So you walk from one grid to another and an alert doesn't follow you, so it's not a big deal. I get an alert in grid 1 and I just run into another room and it disappears and I go back in. That's also present in Metal Gear Solid 3. Why? With the technology available on the PS2 at the time of its release, it was possible, as God of War showed us, to make very, very large environments without loading screens and make them contiguous. It was possible, but they didn't do it, so you have the same mistakes of MGS 1 and 2 coming back to haunt number 3. And in addition to that, it added some of its own mistakes. A lot of people that I've talked to that really like this game try to defend it by saying, no, you're forgetting that the fact that there's an eating system and a camouflage system. And while in theory those things kind of work, they're really just one more thing to do in the grand scheme of the game. Now, you walk into a clearing, and it's full of, brown grass or something like that, and you have that kind of camouflage on you. But instead of it being a matter of you having to decide which will make you look better, and there's different combinations and stuff like that that'll work, you just go into your inventory, and the game tells you which one to use. It's completely pointless. It's like you're relinquishing control of the game to the developers, and they're just telling you, oh, do this. They're grabbing you by the nose and hurling you around, and you can not do what they say, but there's no reason to do that because they're telling you exactly what percentage of camouflage will help you out in any given situation, so it's pointless. It's just a waste of time. Same with the eating. Every time you get hungry, you have to eat, otherwise you slow down. It's really, really easy to just kill a bunch of things and stock up on them and then just eat them as time goes by. There's really no penalty for not eating other than the fact that, it makes your hand shake a little bit when you are sniping, or it makes your stomach grumble once every 20 minutes when you're trying to sneak up on a guy. But that's not really enough of a reason to say that this game is revolutionary or even innovative. Or I know a lot of people would say it's not revolutionary, it's evolutionary. But a lot of people use that to defend Warcraft 3, even though it was basically just a rehash of StarCraft in almost every conceivable way. But it's a bullshit phrase, because just because something makes a couple of changes doesn't make it okay. It's not okay to just make a couple of changes that don't work and then say no, it's not revolutionary, it's evolutionary. It doesn't have to make a big change. Well, it doesn't have to make a big change. I mean, when you play a game like Metal Gear Solid, you want a Metal Gear Solid game, but you don't want a bunch of bullshit that doesn't work, like the eating or the story or the camouflage or things like that. It's a completely masturbatory game in the sense that it's just there's no reason for its existence. It doesn't help the story at all. As gameplay-wise, it's not that exciting. And in the end, it just feels kind of pointless. Now, it seems like I'm getting worked up over a game that's essentially old and irrelevant at this point, but a lot of people are still citing MGS3 as evidence of Hideo Kojima's status as a genius. And I'm here to tell you, that's not the case. I mean, you look at all the things that this game could have done well, could have done intelligently, and all the enormous glaring mistakes it made that any one of us could have corrected if they just asked us. And that is not the work of a genius. Now, I'm looking forward to Metal Gear Solid 4 as much as anybody else, but don't get your hopes up, because Hideo Kojima is not a genius. This guy is very, very prone to mistakes. MGS2, most of MGS2 should let you know about that. And MGS3 did not really get any better. I mean, I know it's got a lot of fans, and there are things that you can appreciate about it, like the Sorrow boss fight or the end boss fight, and some of the gameplay is just, in a regular Metal Gear Solid kind of way. It's entertaining. But he's not necessarily proven himself a man who can move beyond or really evolve or revolutionize necessarily the series. So don't get your hopes up. I'll be looking forward to it as much as anybody else, but just don't keep your hopes up. That's all I got for you this week. If you want to send me an email at reverandanthony@gmail.com and call me an idiot for dissing on your favorite game, then feel free to. If you have any suggestions, just send me an email and I'll discuss it on the air. So that's all I got for you this week. See you later.
Retroforce Go!
All right, we're back.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! So, Chad, Soltrio, does it mean anything?
It means terrible solitaire game. In Italian.
So Topher was correct. Excellent.
Yes, good one, Topher.
As usual.
All right.
And actually, the actual pronunciation is Soltrio.
Soltrio.
Oh, You have to say Sultrio to every question I ask you ever again.
I will.
And I want you to say it like that too.
I will.
That's awesome. But here's whoops, sorry. Welcome back, everybody, the listeners.
Hi,
Hey,
Sultrio.
people could be listening to this.
So trio.
Sultrio.
Sultrio, Sultrio,
A soul trio.
Sultrio. Oh my God, this is great.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna get everyone here to get to know the people that were probably gonna listen to this, which all 2 people so far. And so I just wanted to see what you guys like. Why are we doing Retroforce? Like, what, why are you so excited? What are you into it? Why are you retro? Talk about your gaming memories.
Can I go?
Yes.
Retroforce Go is important for me because everything about games that I do and that I am now it came from me being a 10-year-old gamer. That's when I fell in love with games. That's when they changed my entire life. And I'll be honest, most people that know me know this well. No games. Like, I'll drop any next gen to go and play some game on an NES if it's set up at someone's house. I can't help myself. Like, it happens every single time. No, seriously.
No,
like,
I believe you. I've seen you do it. You came over to my house, put in Super Mario
Remember?
Brothers 3, and then passed out.
It's like, oh my God, can we play Super Mario Brothers 3 And you laugh, but that's exactly...
Tanuki suit!
Tanuki! Yeah. So, it's difficult because getting into the argument with modern gamers or, next-gen gamers, I should say, they're like, what, even though they understand, at the same time, they're kind of like, well, why would you take, an old game over, a new, beautiful game that looks great? I mean, I'm sure you guys would probably agree. For me, the bottom line is that I just have more fun playing old games. So that's the biggest reason why I'm here. Because I have more fun playing old games, and I know for a fact that there are even current developers that still want to make games that are as fun as the games we played when we were kids.
Really?
I think so. I mean, a perfect example is Behemoth, the guys that made Alien Hominid are working on Castle Crashers. Those guys are like my heroes right now. I mean, they're making games that are difficult. Like, Alien Hominid's a difficult side-scroller, but it is a blast. Like, I laugh out loud when I play that game. How many games can you say that about? I'm having so much fun that I'm laughing out loud while I'm playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't say that about that many games. So I do believe that there are people out there that care enough about the style, the style and the fun, but they can also find a way to, like, translate those things into the future. You know what I mean? I believe that can be done. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think it can. Look at Geometry Wars. How fun is that?
True.
It's addictive.
Yeah. Would you consider that, Topher, a good example of a current gen retro game?
I would. I mean, you shoot things. That's it.
Yeah. Basically.
You shoot things. You fly around and shoot things and avoid things. It's very simple. It's very old school, but it looks great, and it's the same sort of classic gameplay. I probably play that more than anything else on my 360.
Yeah. Now most of us have newer generation systems, because we're still gamers, but you play that more than anything else on your next gen 360.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, I still play Crackdown, and I get into newer games, and if it's good. But I play arcade stuff more than anything else. You can usually catch me playing Contra or Geometry Wars or something like that much more often than Halo.
What? Oh, by the way,
never...
listeners, that's probably the first and only time we'll ever mention Halo on this podcast.
Yes, I'm sorry I did it.
No, yeah. Well, you've broken the Halo little virgin bubble, and I just wanted to let the listeners know that if you want to see or hear how awesome that game is, 98% of the internet will tell you. We don't care.
This 2% will not.
Yeah.
Not at all.
We're the top 2. We're like the Mensa of video games, okay? You can take your
That's
pedestrian.
It's totally going on our T-shirt.
Yeah,
That's it.
The Mensa of video game.
Trademark it, copyright it. What's the Retroforce Go? The
Print
Mensa
it.
of video games.
Cut it, print it.
Cool. But no, to get back to that like what brings you back to retro, Toph?
Whatever brought me away from it.
Oh, good answer. Well, no, I'm saying like, why are you still drawn to it? Like what, talk. Give me some.
It's just so damn good. It's like I don't know, macaroni and cheese.
I know. I got this. Actually, I got this image of you really enjoying fried chicken when you said that. Like, oh, it's so damn good.
Damn, it's good.
Popeye's chicken is fucking awesome.
They have good biscuits. What about you, Chizzo?
I mean, I pretty much agree with a lot with what they both said. Of course, I mean, it's because the games are amazing. But it's just like, it's also the nostalgia, too. It's like, playing all these old games totally brings back all these memories. And one thing I love about old games is think about when you first started playing Nintendo and even Super Nintendo. You bought so many games back then. It's like anything that came out you wanted to play. It was like this excitement in the air about every new game that came out. It was just like, you just wanted to see what it was like. You wanted to play. You wanted to experience it. And nowadays, you think about it, I mean, I probably get excited about maybe like one game every 2 months. And and there's like 4 systems, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I remember back in the day, if I would go to Blockbuster or a video store,
yeah.
and rent, as many games as I could, even if I didn't know anything about them, or even if they looked terrible, just because I loved playing video games so much, and that's all I would do. And it's just kind of like, those days have kind of like gone, and it's kind of sad. Nowadays it's like, I don't know, I feel like just the big, really fun games don't come out as often. I don't get excited as often as I used to.
Well, like there's always been crap on the shelf, but the percentage back then, I mean, it was mostly good, whereas now you go out and it's mostly crap.
But that's the thing, even the crap though, like when you were younger, we still wanted to play that crap, you know what I mean?
Even the crap was good.
Exactly, because like think about
Even
it, like
the dirt
nowadays
was
we have
clean.
memories of all these crappy games, but the reason we have memories of them is because we played them, you know what I mean?
One word, Faxanadu.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I actually like that game.
I know, but it's a piece of shit.
It totally is.
It totally is, you're right.
It's
No, but that's
so
a perfect
bad.
example. Like if a game like that came out nowadays, it's like no one would touch it with a 10-foot pole, you know what I mean? But back
Yeah.
then it was something new and fun and different and weird, and like we totally wanted to check it out. But nowadays it's like people are so spoiled because everything's like so saturated that no one really goes out of the way to try new things.
I have a feeling that all of you guys can probably relate to this in some way or another, but when I was growing up, I lived on a street, a really small 2-block dead-end street, and at the end of my street, there was a store called Performance Hobby, and it was like this one guy that ran the place, and he rented, this is when Nintendo was really big and Genesis had just come out, he rented every Nintendo game ever made for $2 each, and you would rent it for 3 days.
Oh my god.
Can I tell you that I walked
Wow.
down there every single day and rented a video game? I played every game the NES ever made, unless it was an X-rated game, because he wouldn't carry those.
That's like 900 games.
I played them all.
Oh, I so wish I had been you.
An X-rated game? Wait, let's go back to that. What X-rated Nintendo games were there?
There were
Like-
2 actually. There was
Bubble Bath Babes
Yep.
was one.
Yeah, the bubble game.
Oh, really? I didn't even know these existed.
Yeah,
There-
Bubble Bath Babes.
Go
I'll,
ahead.
I'll send you a link, Chad.
Yeah,
to,
that's great.
Yeah, there's a site where you can see them. But what was the other one, Alex?
Well, that was the one I thought of, and then I believe there was one more where it was just like strip poker or something like that. Bubble Bath Babes is the one I'm familiar with. I can't recall if I thought there was another one, but there may or may not be. But those were remember the Nintendo like seal of approval?
Yeah.
Okay, after a while that kind of, didn't really mean too much because they did start putting it on in crap games. But there was a lockout chip in the into the Nintendo cartridges for their licensed developers, and no one could figure it out. And so you couldn't make a Nintendo game without Nintendo allowing you to make it, buying the cartridges from them. And who is it? Tengen had figured out a way to get around that, which is actually, remember Tetris, the Tengen version is like $180 on eBay, like it's impossible to find.
Wow.
Yeah, it would send a charge through one of the pins, and that would like kind of short circuit the security chip, but it actually take the life out of your actual NES, which has probably had a lot to do with the flashing screen. And what happened is once they figured that out, of course Nintendo tried to do another security chip, but a lot of other people had figured out at the same time. So you got those games like Bath Bubble Babes and
Right.
which if you could, I think that's like in the top 10 of like rarest games of all time. I may be wrong.
Yeah, it's very hard to find. I'm sure most people are familiar with Sean Baby's top 10 naughtiest games of all time.
Yeah, I have seen that before. I just didn't remember that one specifically.
It's actually one of the funniest lists I've ever read on the internet. So for any of you who haven't read it, I must tell you, go to SeanBaby.com and read naughty NES games. It will kill you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool. I actually met him. He's a pretty cool guy. So back to the retro. No one bothered to ask me.
Okay, I was getting to that.
But you're supposed to sum up at the end by saying, well, and this is what I think.
Oh, that's my job. That's my job. Well, I'm going to actually hold off on a sec. I actually wanted to ask Chad. You were saying that you don't get excited about games as much and as often as they used to, and I was just wondering what you think that reason is. Like, you know...
I don't know. Maybe it's because I do love retro games so much, and I feel like games are kind of pushing themselves away from that style. Like, the thing about retro games I think I like the most was sprites. Like, I love sprite graphics. I love them, and I always will love them. And you don't ever see those anymore.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
I shouldn't say that.
No,
I mean,
you don't.
You see them a lot on the Nintendo DS, and that's why I love my Nintendo DS. But besides that, I mean, you don't see them much anymore. So even though I definitely, I mean, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I definitely get excited about certain games that are coming out now. It's just I remember. I mean, just think about like Super Mario Bros. 3 when you were little. Like, do you remember how excited you got when that game came out? I like lost my mind.
You
I
and the
did
rest
too.
of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I remember just waiting for it because my dad picked it up after work, and I literally was like salivating at the mouth and running around the house like probably naked or something, just screaming at the top of my lungs, waiting for Super Mario Bros. 3, and it came back, and I was so excited. And I only run around the house naked now for like only like one game a year. It's not the same.
Or when the police show up.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
a sad, sad world when Chad Consumo can't run around his house naked about a game.
I know. I should be able to do
That
that
just
at least
speaks to the
once.
state of the industry.
I think that should be our review scale. Like, it should be different levels of you clothed running around
How
your room.
naked is Chad Anselmo? I would agree.
So if it's
That's
like, if a
great.
game's total shit, it's like fully clothed, not running.
With a hat on.
Yeah, with a hat and a robe. It's that bad. It's got a snowsuit and an igloo.
Let's work on that. We got to get back to that idea.
That's actually amazing. I will totally participate.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Shame be damned.
Shame? There's no room for shame here.
What does that word mean?
I don't know. No, really, I don't know. No, but I don't know. You were mentioning Super Mario Bros. 3, and it kind of makes me remember. And this is actually why I like retro. Is I just can't let go of these games. When like Super Mario Bros. 3 came out, it wasn't just the fact that everyone was into it, and there was a lot of marketing hype. The Wizard, and
Amazing, by the way.
but it's
So
like.
good.
This might, yeah, I love that movie. This might have something to do with the fact that I was younger, or it might have some more to do with the fact that games have kind of lost, in a sense, their way. It's just that, like, when Super Mario Bros. 3 came out, you knew before you even opened it, like, it was gonna be magic. Like, it was just so amazing. Like, 1 was amazing, 2 was amazing, 3's coming, and it's like Christmas and a little gray cartridge, and you're just like, this is going to be fantastic. And it's just like I lost that. Like, I actually almost stopped playing video games for not like, you know, like I swore them off, but like just I kind of like didn't give a fuck anymore. Like right around like the middle of the PS2 era, because it was just like everything that came out was like, here's this epic sneak fest, or like here's, you know, like Splinter Cell, and then there's, you know, Madden's coming out, and they ruined Final Fantasy for me. And I was just like, where are the games that I used to like to play? You know, the ones that are games. Like, I don't need, like, 9 hours of cinematics. I don't need, you know, thing. I need a little red or yellow guy chasing dots and, you know, Mega Man going pew, pew, pew. It's like...
I agree. I miss all of that stuff.
Yeah, and you sit down. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, just think about like you were saying, Final Fantasy. Like, think about like 2 and 3 and all those classic ones. I mean, I just can't believe that there's not one person at Squeenix that is just like doesn't come up with the idea that they want to do another role-playing game with that style of graphics again. Because can you imagine just the amount of effects and cool things they could do with like an old style RPG like that? I think it would be amazing. I think it would sell great. I think people would love like the nostalgia factor of it. I don't understand why there's not one person there that's come up with that idea, and runs with it.
Didn't they actually
Well, Final
come out-
Fantasy 3 was kind of like that for DS.
Yeah, but even that, it was like it was 3D, and like I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking about just an old school like sprite based like side view battle scenes. Like I mean,
Well, there are some games, especially coming out for the DS, that I have seen that adopt that look. There's been a couple of role-playing games made by smaller companies that have gone with that look.
Isn't
I know that.
Atelier Iris like that?
I want to say that it is.
yeah, it's kind of like Dragon Quest, where it's like you fight the guys when you don't see your character. They're kind of lined up in a row.
Yeah.
It's like it is like that. It's kind of old school.
Oh, that's the dungeon
Yeah.
crawler one, right?
Yeah, I think you actually are like a cartographer. Like you actually like.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, you draw your own maps, your dungeon. It's first person, and it's like super old school, like back from like the like almost like Amiga days. Okay.
Well, that's
Yeah.
The art
cool.
for that's awesome too.
Hmm.
The art for that's awesome too.
Yeah. See, that's the art, but it's like I agree with Chad. It's like if they came out with another like Final Fantasy like 3, not the DS one, the Super Nintendo one, 6 or whatever you want to call it. Purists, but like if they came out with another game like that and they were like, okay, we're gonna do Final Fantasy 13 for these systems and we're gonna do Final Fantasy 13 like Sigma, and it's or something just totally different, and it came out with it and was like, here you go, here's the game that you grew up on, here's the game that you've love and held, and here's the sequel, and I would millions, they would go nuts for it.
I agree, and like they think about it, I mean, just the length of the game. They could make the game so long, and they could make it like completely epic, and they could put tons of characters in it. I mean, because like the technology would be so basic compared to all this new fancy
Yeah,
stuff.
it's not like they used to have to cut corners, and it's like now they don't have to. But so now they feel developers, and this is I understand that if the mainstream games came out and they looked like Super Nintendo games, people would be pissed. I get that, like you don't buy a PS3 or Xbox 360, for sprite-based graphics. You buy it for MotorStorm or Halo 3, and that's cool. But it's like that's not every gamer,
No.
It's like I love
That's what arcade and virtual consoles like. Put it on live. Let us download it for $5. And,
Yeah, that
exactly.
Well, hell, put it on the DS, the #1 selling system of all time. Yeah, it's finally surpassed, believe it or not, the Game Boy Advance.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It makes me happy
Yeah,
because
Game
the
Boy
Nintendo
Advance
DS
was
is
huge.
amazing.
I know. I've been playing.
Speaking of which, I was talking to Chad last week about Final Fantasy games, and I was telling him about my favorite Final Fantasy game when I was a kid was Final Fantasy Adventure for Game Boy. And I didn't know, but Chad told me that it had been remade for the GBA under Sword of Mana.
Mm-hmm.
And I bounced around the house. I think I was more excited about that than I've been about anything else new for years.
Retroforce Go!
At this point in the show, Topher suffered terrible Skype problems and had to be cut from the rest of the show. Please let it be known that he really, really, really loves Sword of Mana, and when hearing upon the game's release, pranced around in the field like a young buck in spring.
Retroforce Go! Yeah, Topher was just saying that, talking to me the other day about how his favorite Final Fantasy game ever was Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like more of like a Zelda-ish kind of game. It's all like, more of an
Never
action.
got to play that.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
That's
And
Seiken Densetsu #1, isn't it?
Ah, okay.
Uh-huh.
That I know.
Seiken, I'm probably butchering it. That's Secret of Mana is what that game is. And Secret of Mana.
Yeah, that was what Topher found out. He found out that it was actually a prequel to Secret of Mana.
Mm-hmm.
But they called it Final Fantasy Adventure to, sell more copies because Final Fantasy was really big at the time. And I had told Topher that they remade it into a Game Boy Advance game called Sword of Mana. I hadn't I've only played a little bit of it, but it's just like the original, but it's like obviously with Game Boy Advance graphics. It's pretty great actually.
I've actually played
Wow.
that too. I played it for a little bit, and I was like, this seems really weird. At the time I hadn't realized it was a remake of the Game Boy game.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons it's kind of odd, is because Game Boy games were even though they had the same amount of buttons, I guess, as a Nintendo, they were very basic, you know what I mean, in the way that they moved, in the way that they controlled. even to the point of almost being kind of stiff. You remember Game Boy games felt very stiff, the controls. And it's weird because they kind of translate the same control scheme to Sword of Mana, so it's like, even though it's kind of on this nice system, it feels kind of odd. I mean, it's still great, it just feels weird. It's like you felt like maybe they should have smoothed it
Yeah,
a
if
little
I was
bit.
fighting a boss and it felt like I was moving my character through like kind of like molasses, where it was
Yeah,
just-
it's weird. It kind of has this old school feeling, even though it's upgraded. It's still neat
Weird.
though. I love it, but it's weird.
Yeah.
that's like that, I heard. What was it, the new Mana that's coming out? Dawn of Mana.
Dawn of Mana, yeah.
It's been getting
Dawn of Mana?
horrifyingly bad reviews.
I know, which totally kills me.
Well, there was a DS game, I think it was Children of Mana. It was wretched. Like, I was like, oh, the Mana series. And then I was like, I can't believe what happened to this. I was really, 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 like, put down and upset.
It's crazy. Secret of Mana, to this day, is still in my top 10 games of all time. Like, it's amazing.
Oh, yeah, it's,
Same
it's
here.
And
utterly
like,
amazing.
yeah, and it's just to think that all these Mana games have come out since then, maybe like 6 or 7, and every single one has been a disappointment. It totally kills me.
Maybe, I mean, I'm assuming they have completely different teams of people working on these games, and maybe that has something to do with the disappointment. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
could be.
totally.
I mean, they've been, the same guy that makes the Mega Man DS games is not the guy who invented it. That's for sure.
Right. Well, I mean, not to say that, they'll all just necessarily end up sucking, if someone else takes over, but it just seems like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
It's hard when you have a series that you really like. Like, everyone wanted another Super Nintendo Secret of Mana. Everybody still does, actually. But,
Yeah.
and I remember playing World of Mana, the PS1, rented it, played it for like 20 minutes, and I was like, this is just not the same. And it sucks. You run into that. A lot of series from the back then, from the days of retro, kind of gone away. Like, Mega Man's kind of watered down, and Sonic the Hedgehog is like Sonic Adventure plus Battle Friends, and like you're like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
Or Shadow the Hedgehog. That was a classic game.
That probably was one of the worst games I've ever played in my whole
Oh
life.
my god! And I tried to love that so much. It just wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. But no. But yeah, with retro, it's like I get back into it, and I get back into it for the same reason. It's like they're fun. Like I just sit down, and it's like, I don't really work. I have plenty of time, but I still like when I sit down. It's like I take a page out of Miyamoto's book. I want to be playing a game within 5 minutes. Like turn
should
it on.
be.
Totally agree.
You
One of
know.
the most painful things I've noticed lately, and I'm sure you guys can all relate to this, is that lately, even games that are beautiful, like Okami, it took me 30 minutes of talking to play.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Unskippable dialogue.
I was frustrated. I was badly frustrated at that point, and I knew how beautiful the game was, so I was like, okay, I'm going to hang in there. But I almost died.
That you know how much I love Okami, and for the listeners at home, I love Okami. Like I will name my kid or my dog or I don't know your kid Okami. I don't care. I don't care if you name your daughter Sarah. I'm just gonna call her Okami until she dies. That's how much I love this game, and I have to agree that when I put it in, my roommate looks over at me and he goes, "Hope your he goes, I hope your X thumbs warmed up." And I was like, "Why?" And you seriously just sitting there like then it's like blah, 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 blah. But I think it was worth it. That game is amazing.
I think it
It
was
is
worth
amazing.
it, but and Chad heard this too because I actually borrowed his copy. I just, it was difficult for me to get through it, and then I realized that it literally has happened in almost every new next-gen game I've played
Well, that's
for
see,
like the past couple years.
people they talk about the Wii and they're like, "Oh, it's so simple." And it's like I don't recall exactly who said it or what, but someone from Nintendo was like, "We were trying to make a game and a system that like when you put the game in and turn it on, you're playing the game within like 2 minutes. Like that's a
You
requirement."
should be.
Yeah,
I think
because most next gen games, like you put it in, it's like, how long am I gonna have to fucking watch these movies, these cinemas, and backstories, and how many fucking training levels am I have to go through to put in a game? It's like when I started gaming, the only way you would like start the game was you put in a quarter, boom, go. That was it.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I think I think Nintendo recognizes very clearly that there was like two major things. They were talking about it before they launched the Wii. The idea that games are taking too long to play, therefore gamers are getting like annoyed and aggravated, which is what we're obviously all feeling, and the fact that games have gotten so complex, that's why all the explaining is there. They want things to be simplified, which I mean, I'm not going to lie, I think they're doing a bang up job. I really do.
Yeah, I'm
Although-
happy about the Wii. Like I've Raven Rabbits, whatever. How do you say that? Raven Rabbits, Raven Rabbits,
Raven
Yeah.
Rabbits?
whatever.
Yeah.
That's a fun game. That's a
Yeah.
game for idiots. Like anyone can figure that out, and I love it.
Mhm.
Like I fucking love it. I'm just like, yay, shoot the little bunnies, And then with people,
Bunnies!
hey, we like I said before, I have a GameFly account, so we get a lot of games, and it's like my roommates will get like the big games, and they'll come home, and I'm just like, this is boring. This is just
Yeah.
boring.
It is. It totally
So,
is.
That's me. That's retro. It's like I play video games. I don't need like a cinematic emotional experience. Actually, let me correct you. I actually had that. Like David Jaffe always says, I want to make a game that makes people cry. Lunar made me cry. That game is come and gone. And I don't care how many cell processors you have. It's like you don't need it. You just need a game with good story, great presentation, and you can put it on Sega CD, and there you go. You're done. You
Yep.
put it on a DS.
Mhm.
Grr! Shake my fist.
Arg!
Cool. I guess that just about sums it up, huh?
I think that sums it up.
I think
I
we're
think it
pretty
sums it up
summed.
real nice.
Yeah, summed it up in a little box. We're gonna wrap it up with some summon tape. There you go.
I'm sad that Topher drowned in his bucket.
Yeah. He's still there.
We took a break, and then it's just sad.
Yeah, he was suffering from bucket technical issues, so he'll be back in full effect next week. Hopefully Aaron Lindy will be joining us at that point. But in the meantime, it's been great. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you then. Retroforce Go!
Retroforce Go!
Once with feeling, Chad.
Retroforce Go! So 3.